Welcome to the ANEW Body Insight podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogrammed Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. And Chantal Donnelly, physical therapist and author of Settled, How to Find Calm in a Stress-Inducing World. Here at City Club Los Angeles, we follow our guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us.
Welcome back to the ANEW Body Insight podcast. We are here again at City Club LA, and we're excited because we are doing the second half of our interview with Fiona Lummis. She is a dancer, choreographer, and dance teacher at USC. Really excited to hear more about her journey into a dance career that was really amazing and continues to be amazing.
Yes. So you made your transition away from dance and into teaching. And we want to know, I'm sure it wasn't just pregnancy because you danced through your pregnancy, but what made you retire? What brought you into teaching? And how has that enhanced your life?
Nice question. Yes. So I think, as a dancer, athlete, that there's an end to the physicality of it. So I think actually most dancers are already pre-thinking a little bit, which is annoying in a way because you just need to enjoy it while you're doing it. But I do remember there was a decision on my part. There's a sort of creative field, choreography and beyond, and then there's teaching. There's these two things. And I remember being in class, so you do a daily class with the teachers, and I actually... I found the teachers that we had, I felt that they enjoyed us as humans and were really some lovely people. I like them. And I also had Glenn, my husband beforehand, was trying different things, but was also turned to teaching. So I used to visit him. In the summers, we taught at Perry Mansfield Summer Camp in Colorado, Steamboat Springs.
Hey, Colorado.
And so several summers I used to go there, and that's where I started really thinking about teaching and starting to teach. So I was still dancing, but starting to teach. And I'm going to say I think most dancers and most people that are in the physical industry are ready to teach very early on because you're doing so much research yourself with your body and how your body functions to get to an optimal level that you want to impart that knowledge. You want to tell people how this is done because you think, oh, wait, if someone had told me that early on, I would be so much further ahead. Mm-hmm. But I have learned over a long period of time that there actually aren't that many shortcuts. There are some. There's learning happening all the time, but everybody is so unique. Everybody is so unique. And obviously there's some tried and true methods and methodologies that work, but there's just the mental part, the emotional part. There's so much to it. And just the experience of learning how to be a good teacher or imparting that. Part of it was when I came to LA, I stopped and I had a transition. I lived in Holland for a while. We were traveling. It was the first time that I'd really taken a long break. It was wonderful. It was a really good time. Then we decided to move to California, and we did it in various stages. Glenn's mother was still alive, and that was our only grandmother actually at the time. So that was a decision to be closer to grandmother actually. And then Glenn got a job working at Cal Arts, and I was being a mother, and teaching I could fit it in around being a mother. So even though, and because I was at Netherlands Dance Theater in Holland, in the Netherlands, there's a retraining program that you pay into It's very luxurious. You pay into it. So for 20 years, I paid into this retraining program. And then you receive a certain amount of money to retrain because they know that you're actually going to finish your career and transition into something else.
That's great.
So I had to use this money. I really didn't know quite what I wanted to do. And I really actually didn't want to use it right then. I felt like I wasn't ready to make a decision. But we found in South Pasadena, where we were living, this ATP Studios.
And that's how we met Fiona. Thank goodness.
And literally, I met you there, and it was a blessing. It was really a blessing, and actually, that was after my second child, so second son. So
your Pilates training was covered then?
It was covered. It was 60% covered. Actually, the training was covered, and then the equipment was 60% covered, which is incredible.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so that's informed my teaching as well. But
Has Pilates informed your teaching?
Definitely. Well, I think it helped me in many different ways. And again, this is emotional well-being as well, because it really helped me just, it wasn't a matter of just doing it. Kim, I'm thinking of you right now and your podcast. There's just so much more to it. And it helped me, I want to say, just transition into normal life, I do remember it was the first time I did multiple choice, by the way.
On the exam.
What? I'd take the exam. I was like, what is this? I've never, I just used to answer questions, but no, you had to actually, So anyhow, many things, many firsts, actually, and it was a nice way to transition.
And, join a community.
Yes, which is, look, right here. That's so lovely.
And we're so glad that we met you.
Yeah, look, beautiful people. So very lucky.
I know that you were teaching at the high school level.
Yes.
During the pandemic, and then now you are teaching college at USC, School of Dance. What is it like to teach at the high school level and at the college level? And then I know that it was during the lockdown, the pandemic, you were teaching at LACSA. What was that like to try and teach dance virtually?
So fun. No, it was well, I think we've all got our pandemic stories, and any teacher will tell you how intense it was. But dance has its own challenges, for sure. I was actually teaching both at the time, UC Kaufman and LACSA. The luxury of UC Kaufman is I was able to go down into the studios alone, and they had it all set up for me with the screen, and it made, I had the headset alone in the studios, but with no students. They were all on the screen, whereas at LACSA we were at home in our little spaces. So obviously the first challenge is space. And the biggest thing is musicality. That's one of the sublime things of teaching is you come into a room and you sync everybody with music, and obviously on Zoom everybody's hearing it at a different rate.
Oh my God!
And so you're watching little boxes of people not in sync, and that is
painful for a
very
dancer.
painful. But we pivoted quickly. Everybody did. I mean, really, we didn't miss a beat. LACSA, we didn't take a day off. We just went on Zoom. So everybody was inventing it as they went along, and I think we all, we just found our way. It certainly wasn't perfect. I think one of the biggest challenges was normally a studio is, it's not, well, hopefully it's at its best, it's a safe space and it's a neutral space. And, we were always told you leave your troubles at the door and you come in and you're a blank canvas and you absorb all the information and then you go out to your normal life, right? But suddenly in Zoom, that everybody was in their own personal space. They weren't escaping from their personal space, which we all know. But for dance, some people had to dance on carpet. Some people had to dance outside on the concrete. You were making accommodations for everybody differently.
I was doing therapy in a camp chair.
There you go.
That sounds good. Chair. Yeah, but I didn't have an actual chair. And I was like, this is temporary. Yeah. A month goes by. I was like, I can't sit in this camp chair anymore. This is horrible. So I can only imagine what it would have been like with dancing.
It was just exactly that it was long. We all thought, 2 weeks, a month, and then you kept going. And I had children at home and, wasn't taking care of things there. And I think we were all stretched, but I was grateful that I did have my family and we were safe, and I knew there was other challenges happening in these little boxes. Mm-hmm. So again, the mental health and well-being, that became a real focus. Mm-hmm. But I'm not a trained professional in that. So
were you dealing a lot with the students, their mental health?
Yeah, we had to learn, and the aftermath, I think, which comes into when I was interim chair. I mean, we're still dealing with that, right? That's still huge. I mean, at least it woke up systems that needed to be woken up anyhow. So I don't think there's some good things that came out of but I felt like we didn't take a pause, and then we went straight back to normal, and there are some things that need to be cleared up, and we're trying to do better, but we're in the middle of doing it as we're trying to do it better.
Yeah, and I think when you're working with artists too, you're working with very sensitive kids. High school sucks regardless of you're an artist or not. So it was just a really hard time for those, particularly for the artist kids.
Yeah, and it was a challenge. I mean, I learned things from it as well, so I can't say it was all negative, and I'm still in touch with most of those students, and when I see them, I see the little square that they were in as well. And I just went to see Anna Karenina at the Music Center. And one of my students from USC that was on Zoom in his senior year was dancing in the Joffrey Ballet in a featured role. And so that is a beautiful, finishing off tale, because it was also for dancers the same as, I keep going back to athletes or musicians. It's like suddenly you're not... your trajectory, your professional drive. I mean, I always think of the Olympics that were preparing for the Olympians that were preparing for the next Olympics, and then you have 2 years out of your life where you're either in a good situation where you can train or you're not. Right. So the same for dancers. It's really principal dancers that were about to do their role of a lifetime didn't happen. So it hit the whole of the dance world. So that did bring some good things. Then there are now incredible dance classes online, which didn't happen before. True. You got more of a view into a professional company life, which wasn't there before. So I found things like that quite useful as a teacher. You're going, oh yeah, there's still, strangely enough, they're still doing pliés and tendus in a dance company. It's not. Things have evolved, but there's still that baseline that we're teaching that's happening on the professional life as well.
Amazing. When did you start to get involved with the Killian and Van Manen foundations? And just tell us a little bit more about that. You were teaching the repertoire in various institutions. Tell us about that, and tell us, what was rewarding about doing that.
So that's really been a gift or a privilege that I can teach this work, because it's obviously work that I did. I just asked them personally if it's okay if I can teach those works, which in the beginning was just a phone call, and they'd be like, yes, now it's a little bit more formalized. There's foundations that you have to go through and make sure that, that they are approving what you're teaching, or you send videos back. When I do it in schools and colleges, it's just a section of their work. If you do it in a company, it's the whole piece, which is very expensive. In schools, they give an educational rate, so that's more doable. I love to do it. The work is really, it's very nice to come into a space and say, we're going to do this amazing piece, and I already know it's going to be a good experience, so that's rewarding for me. Each situation is different. I've just done some professional gigs and in professional companies, and it's different. Each one is
Describe
like different.
Some of the work.
Okay, so I just worked with Houston Ballet. They did a piece called Overgrown Path, which Yuri created in 1981, and I danced many roles within that. So it was quite easy for me to. You have to literally relearn it, and you're learning everybody's part so that you can impart that to them. It takes about 4 weeks to stage a ballet of rehearsals every day. You have to cast it. You have to double cast it, which means there's in Houston Ballet, it's quite a big company. So you have 3 casts actually, because they're constantly rotating works. So everybody's learning everything. You had live accompanist in the room because it's to beautiful music, piano music, Janacek. You're just fully immersed, trying to teach people the steps, but also teach some of the story behind it, giving them little anecdotes of when it was made. And I love the historic part, going back to the original cast, looking at new versions, choosing the right version for the company. So that's exciting work. And I do the same work with schools, just it's a smaller section I'm working on. So, yeah.
Amazing.
If you had a really good friend who had a young preteen child who wanted to become a professional dancer, was looking for a career in dance, would you try to talk them out of it? Would you try to talk them into it? Are there pros and cons of the becoming a professional dancer that you would guide them?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't talk them out of it. I just think like anything, I think, you try everything, hopefully, if you have the opportunity to as a child. And I, would like to talk about more accessibility for more people to do the arts. That would be wonderful. There was an even playing field and everybody could try. So there's that part of it. And if you love something or your child loves to do it, then you just encourage. I mean, I hope I did that as a parent. And you just are constantly guiding. I was lucky. My mom, I did have a sister who was in it and did give me advice, but my mother just loved me, so that was the best dance mom of the world, So I wasn't, I was encouraged. So I think encouraged, but like I said, I didn't necessarily, I think be realistic. That a professional ballet dancer, I don't know the statistics, but how many there are, how many places there are. It's a difficult profession, but so is being a concert pianist, so is being a professional soccer player, so is being anything, really. It's difficult. So I think you have to be realistic. You do the research. You find a place where you can train well. You're getting good advice. You're always researching, but any parent is doing that for anything, really. Right. So I wouldn't talk them out of it, but I wouldn't over embellish or just there's no. It's so individual. I mean, I think there were better dancers than me growing up, but maybe their life took a different turn. They weren't able to focus as much, or there's just different reasons why it worked out for me. So, but I would like to think that along the path, there's a lot of joy if it's taught well and that's taught generously, and your mental health is in a good place, your physical health is in a good place. There should just be a lot of joy from doing it, and then that should just be part of your life. But there are disappointments, but if you're aiming unrealistically, maybe the disappointments are bigger. So I think that's a danger for everybody, is just to, one step at a time along the path, and ask for help.
So that question was a test, and you passed.
Okay. That's good. I've got another test. And I think that this is hard for any woman, but I'm sure with your career, balancing dance, teaching, and children, I think a lot of people want to know, how do you do it? How do you do it?
I think it's
Teach us.
I think it's just tough. I don't think
you cry
the dance part. I mean, it's tough, but it's just very full. It's very full of life, and I also had my children late in life and had a very physical career. It's quite exhausting having children, so I hope I wasn't too tired all the time.
You guys are tired.
But I do remember it being tiring. You juggle, and there's some career paths that you choose not to take, maybe because you can't juggle everything, and that's a compromise. But I think everybody has gone through that, so it's just life. I don't know if dance makes it harder or better, but I think there was the staging part. Like now I'm able to go away for 4 weeks because they're independent and older, whereas when they were little, that would have been really hard. And there was one I felt like I missed one opportunity, which was the Paris Opera was doing a ballet that was made on me, and I was thinking, well, I have to go, I'm the one that needs to pass on this knowledge. And somebody else was chosen, and that was a big disappointment. But then then I had to sort of sit with the reality of it. It would have been ridiculous. I don't even know how I could have done it. But, my professional brain was, oh, I must do this thing. And then the mum brain was like, well, that's ridiculous. And I did drag them all to Paris, though, to see the performance. So I got a little bit of both.
You got to get dragged to Paris. Oh, that's terrible.
Sorry, that sounds ridiculous.
Please don't take me to Paris.
It was hot. That's what they probably remember the most. It was very hot.
That's hilarious. Before we open it up to questions from our audience, how do people find you? Do you have a website? Do you have socials? She's like, website? What?
No, I don't. I am on Instagram. I'm really,
What's the handle?
Fiona Lummis Eddie, I think. At Fiona Lummis Eddie. There you go.
Good.
And
Good. What can people see on your Instagram? I'm sure you're going to get a lot of followers.
I put some recent posts because I staged a couple of pieces, so hopefully that's on there. And I try and follow my students as much as possible. Encouragement, I'm getting better at that. Trying not to post too much family.
People tag you and stuff too.
I know,
I've seen
sometimes
old
that
performances.
Yeah,
that
there's
are
a few of them.
amazing. So
yeah, that pops up sometimes, which is quite nice. But I keep it very low profile, and I teach at USC Kaufman. I'm not teaching anymore at the LA County High School of the Arts, so you can't find me there. But I will support all those students that I taught for 15 years and follow their careers or their trajectories in this life. And I'm working in the fall at Kaufman and a few other places, doing a workshop in San Francisco, going to Oklahoma, maybe Idlewild Arts. So go around places.
you are all over the place. Well, I'm sure there has to be some questions for the amazing Fiona Lummis. We do. Yay. Come to the microphone.
So I was wondering, with your dance career, how many countries did it take you to?
Oh gosh. Yeah. That I don't think I've ever counted that actually. So, Russia, was it Russia or Soviet Union? It was just that it was changing. Okay, that's sorry, that's probably not right. Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, a lot of Europe, Paris, London. Finally, not too much in London. It would have been nice to have done a little bit more in England, but Paris.
Mm-hmm. You came here too,
Germany,
right?
Oh, LA, yes. New York,
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Wow.
Strangely, Berkeley, where were we? We were somewhere in Minnesota, I think, somewhere. I don't know. A lot of Holland, a lot of Germany, because we could drive in the bus there. Spain, Italy, France. Didn't really do China or India. Australia, didn't do New Zealand. So lots of places.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Who else? Come on down.
Anybody from the audience?
Yes.
I was wondering, what was one of your favorite ballets to dance or favorite roles and why? And did it maybe relate to something that was going on in your life at the time or why it stood out?
Oh, thank you. That's a nice question. Well, there's a lot. I mean, it was very nice to be created on so that you have a personal relationship with that working time. So actually, because I just staged Overgrown Path, I really want to say that is one of my favorites. It's a very feminine piece, which works for me. It is about profound sadness, which I don't know resonates for me too. I feel a very happy person, but I can really understand sort of loss and sadness. So that I find it a beautiful piece to dance. And I watched the original cast. So I want to say that was very important to me when I came to the company. There's these wonderful dancers that were before me that I could watch and emulate and be moved by. And the dancer that danced the role that I finally did was Alida Chase, who was just an exquisite artist. And so when I watched, she moved me to tears. So when I got to dance that role, I felt like I was honoring that. So that I can say I feel deeply. And you're very attached to it. You're very attached to that because you put your whole body and soul into that moment. But it doesn't belong to me, if that makes sense. Even if I created it, it belongs to, it's the choreographer's choreography. But I love when I stage pieces to honor the original cast because so much of them is in the piece. Yuri didn't make the pieces on his body. He really made it on the dancers that were there in the room. So original cast for me is really important, even though I saw wonderful interpretations from other people that came after. So I could go down the list, actually, but that one's the one that comes to mind right now. Yeah.
Wow. Looks like we have another question coming up.
Yay!
We love audience questions.
We do. I guess my question as an independent creative going after the journey that might not be so normal, you know, you're kind of talking about normal or whatever that idea of normalcy is. What would your advice be to a younger, you know, woman going after just a creative path, a creative, you know, for me, I'm a musician, but, you know, I think all this different art is simultaneously one in some way, going after something that might not be praised in this society until there's like some crazy amount of success or whatever it is. And so what would your advice be to a younger woman kind of in the thick of all the unknown?
Wow. Well, there's a lot of advice, but I think number one is finding your joy in it. Things that I said, checking your mental health around it, control your social media. Don't use that as a mirror too much. Really pursue excellence. Find people who will help you with excellence, because that will keep you going. I think, because the rest can be on a whim. I mean, there's so much luck involved. There's so many connections. And ask advice, ask for help, keep your friends close. All the good things about life, I think, really are. But pursuing excellence in, you know, if you're a singer, a musician, in your voice, in your instrument, I think you can never really go wrong with that pursuit, as long as that you're not so critical that you're going to damage yourself with it. That's also an over-focus that I think can be dangerous. But I think if you can find the joy in pursuing excellence in something, that's just food, you know. And then keeping a balance of life as you're pursuing it is really important to stay healthy, you know, that you eat well, you live well, you enjoy your friends, but you also find time for yourself so that you can pursue the excellence.
Very good.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
And good luck. Good luck.
you.
Yes, just
Very
enjoy the ride. Yeah.
Oh, it looks like we have another question here. Last question coming up.
Hi.
Hi.
I haven't seen your face. I've been looking in the corner. I wanted to first commend a lot of what you said about being a mother and being a creative and how you like to extend the space for that for your children. I think that that's something I was blessed to have in my parents and creating the space for my creativity, but also being real with me about it. I feel like I've been set up better than maybe people who didn't have that same privilege to have that from their parents. So I commend that approach to it and
Thank you.
allowing the space for it, because it is an ambitious track to take sometimes and it's not always clear. But my question was about, like you're saying, like with dancers and with artists and athletes and things, we do have a bit of a shelf life and we do become aware of that as we take this career on. And sometimes it's overwhelming to think about, okay, well, if my career doesn't look exactly like it has been, like you were working with companies and performing, how does it look and how do you accept that transition? And so, yeah, I guess, like, what was it like for you to go into that transition and what was the, like, morning of being a dancer and becoming a teacher and just, like, how was that journey for you?
Yeah, excellent question, because it is a big transition, and I love helping people, or I'm excited when people are making that transition now, if I can help them in any way, because it took me some years, really, you know, and you know, it's a learning curve of life, right? But I don't know if I just watched Federer. Did anybody see?
I haven't seen that yet.
It's about his last 12 days and being a tennis player, but what an amazing tennis player. And then he lasted till 41, I think, had to deal with injuries at the end of his life. And it's a very emotional video about building up to this moment of stopping. And I'm not going to compare myself to Federer, but at all. But moments like that really resonate of people that have to make a big transition. I think everybody in life makes a transition at one point, right? Whether it's career transitions, motherhood is a big one for a lot of people. Fatherhood is a big one. Just life, losing ones you love. There's just these big transitions in your life that happen. And so, but there is this marker. And I think it's essential to make sure you have the support around you, which I was blessed to have, and take your time and tread carefully with yourself, because I did remember thinking I had to do something more than this career. And then I realized, well, that's stupid. Because you're setting yourself up again for failure. You're setting yourself up for this sort of, well, it has to be even better and more glorious. And what is more glorious? So celebrating what you have achieved the whole time as you go along, I think is really essential. Finally listening to some compliments so that you can kind of store them away for a rainy day, literally. I mean, it's really important, because of course you can go down that hole of that it's all desperate and nobody appreciates me. But I think that's such a human thing. And that's one of the, to go back to the COVID and pandemic and suffering all that together was it was painful, but it was quite good in some way, because I think we realized that there's really just so much support needed to just get through life. And so any transition is big. So just be gentle with yourself and take the compliments. That's my new thing. Take the compliments.
Oh, that's great advice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, you are luminous, as I said before, and so humble and kind and
I've got my family here. They might not believe that.
But you're a ball of light, and I think that probably was a big part of helping you through this transition, is that you tend to be more objective and you see the bigger picture. You don't get too focused and, have tunnel vision on what things should be like. You're very, not just physically flexible. I mean, she's so flexible, but she's also psychologically flexible. And I think that's just what makes you just a wonderful human being. And we're so blessed and lucky to know you. And I wish this podcast wasn't ending, because I could talk to Fiona all day, and she's amazing. But it is. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into the ANEW Body Insight podcast. Thank you, Fiona, for being with us. Everybody, come on, let's give it up for Fiona.
Thank you for being here.
I have to model accepting a compliment now. Yes. So I'm modeling accepting a compliment.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and we really hope you join us for the next episode of the ANEW Body Insight podcast at City Club LA or via Zoom. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Wow! Thanks for tuning into the ANEW Body Insight podcast. Please remember, the content shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anew.insight and at anew-insight.com under the ANEW Body Insight podcast tab. Follow us on our socials at my.anew.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.